Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Purple Penny coin news video. My name's Mark. I own and run the Purple Penny along with my wife Catherine. We've been here for 4 years this May of this year. We'll have been doing this for 4 years here. We're in Mawson Lakes, which is a northern suburb of Adelaide, about 15 minutes north of the central business district of Adelaide. Those of you who aren't watching in Australia, Adelaide is the capital city of South Australia, which is, if you look at the map of Australia, we're in the middle, at the bottom of Australia. It's Adelaide's known for being dry and hot, and at the moment it is dry and hot here. So first week back for 2023 for us, we had a very big buying week. Bought a lot of things, and was really heartening as we bought some really interesting things too, which for Catherine and I, being coin collectors, helps keep us going to see some interesting things and some beautiful coins come in. So that was really good, really heartening last week, and as a consequence I've decided to share some of those bits and pieces with you this week rather than doing a topic of the day. Now, hi Aaron, Steve, Peter and Sandy, thank you everyone for watching. Just got a small audience today. Now we'll just jump into the news here. There is one news item that I'm going to just mention briefly that isn't on the news slide here, but we will get to that. So baby sets were line listed last Thursday. So the 2023 baby sets, they were line listed by the Mint. Line listing just means that we're allowed to announce that they're coming up. They're going to be released on the 3rd of February, which is the first Thursday in February. There's going to be a baby mint set and a baby proof set. The mint set will be $50 and the proof set will be $140. They will have the normal QE2 obverse on them, not the memorial obverse, and the reverse designs are all of the baby coin set designs that have been released in the last 2 years baby sets. So that release is coming up as always. If you are interested in getting your hands on those, send us a message and we'll pop you on our list, and if we get allocated enough then we will be in touch with you and you can buy those through us on release day, which is the first Thursday in February. Before we get on to the second item, the big news that came last week was a group of fake PCGS slabs that were sold, and they contained MS64 Coronation $2 coins. They all had the same certificate number on them, and next week what I was going to do is just do a run through of the anatomy of a PCGS slab and explain to you what all the numbers on them mean. Anyway, someone bought a group of MS64 Coronation $2 and they were all fake slabs. I don't know if they were fake coins, but the slabs themselves all had the same certificate on them, which clearly can't happen. The certificate is unique for every coin. I don't believe the slabs, the NFC chip in them wasn't working, so they didn't have an NFC chip in them. So I guess if you are buying PCGS slabs, it is always worth checking the certificate numbers on them. And comparing those with the images that are listed along with the certificate on the PCGS website. If it's got the PCGS NFC logo on it, then check to see if the NFC actually works. NFC is the near field chip, I think it stands for. Basically the thing that communicates with a chip reader. Perhaps you've got one in your phone. And I guess just brings me to another little topic. When people sell PCGS graded coins and they block out the certificate number, I understand why people do that in a roundabout way. I think it's excessively paranoid, but to me, I wouldn't be buying any PCGS graded coins that you don't know the certificate number of, and you're comparing the actual coin with pictures available online. So PCGS fake PCGS slabs aren't a new thing. It's been happening for a long time. I don't recall seeing an Australian one before with a fake Australian, with a real Australian coin in it. Peter, who is watching, may may have better knowledge than me, but it's the first instance that I can think of an Australian coin in a fake PCGS slab. Right, a few more hellos here. Hello, Leah. Hi, Glenn. Hello, Michelle, Ogie, Ronalyn, Tanya. Brian says he's kicking himself for not getting the 1958 Canadian dollar with... Hang on a second. Stupid Facebook has moved the post. With the beautiful toning. It feels like he only ever sees that kind of stuff way out of his budget. Now that was a 1958 Canadian dollar with sort of bluey purple toning. It wasn't very expensive, Brian, but those sorts of things do sell rather quickly. If we take a good photo of it, they do move along fairly quickly. Hello, Mike. Peter says that the $2 coins and the fake slabs were real, but they were not uncirculated, and that the slabs did not have an NFC chip in them. Hello, Jason. Hello, Cam. David says it seems very odd fake. He's talking about the fake $2 coronation slab here. A lot of effort and illegal activity for very limited financial gain. Well, David, it's amazing what people will do to make a dollar, even if it is only a few dollars. Hello, Shirley. Right, next item on the list. The Athelston Museum, which is found in Malmesbury in England, and Malmesbury is well known for having a large cathedral, and Malmesbury's claim to fame is that Athelstan, who is considered to be the first king of England, king of the Britons, he is buried there at the Malmesbury Cathedral. Now what is interesting is that there is actually a commemorative tomb for Athelstan, but he's not in it. He is somewhere on the grounds of the Malmesbury Cathedral, but no one really knows where. So anyway, Malmesbury, known for being the resting place of King Athelstan, has a museum called the Athelston Museum. And just in the last few months it came to their attention that they didn't actually have any items of Athelstan in the museum. So they went out of their way to buy a coin of Athelstan at auction. And there it is there. So Athelstan himself reigned from 924 AD to 939 AD. He defeated the Vikings. He's the grandson of King Alfred the Great. He won a great victory over the Vikings, and from that point he took on the title of Rex Totius Britanniae, which means the King of all England. So he's considered to be the first King of England, and that Rex Totius Britanniae appeared on the coins that were struck by him after his victory over the Vikings. And the Athelston Museum in Malmesbury decided to buy a coin of Athelstan, and they chose this coin that you can see there. It's a silver penny. They weigh about sort of just over a gram. They're about the size of a 5-cent piece. And it's a silver penny that was struck in Oxfordshire with the portrait of Athelstan on the left there, and he's got that legend around it there, Rex Totius Britanniae, or King of all England. So a good purchase there by the Athelston Museum to actually have something from King Athelstan himself. So very interesting bit of news there. Right, next bit of coin news here is a group of about 130 coins that were dug up in a field in Norfolk, and they were dug up over a period of over 30 years. The first one was discovered in the early 1990s, and the majority were discovered by a metal detectorist in 2014. When archaeologists went back and examined all the coins that were found in the area over the decades, they realised that they had all come from the same horde. Now, what's interesting is that they all dated from about 500 to 600 AD, so archaeologists sort of think that it was buried at about 600 AD, and it's the largest gold coin hoard of that era ever found, 131 coins. The majority of the hoard comprises what's called franc tremises and gold solidi, which were coins of the late Byzantine Roman Empire. So you can see a group of the coins there, along with some examples of tremise and a solidi there on the right hand side. What makes this really interesting is that a local metal detectorist found 10 of these gold coins and attempted to sell them for £15,000 on the private market. Now, if you watched these videos before, you would know that you're not allowed to do that with British coins that that meet certain criteria, and that would be gold coins or silver, more than 3 silver coins in one place. They are actually what's known as treasure, and they are owned by the Crown. They're owned by the British government, and the British government gets the first choice on actually buying those, and the proceeds of that sale are split between the metal detectorist and the property owner. Anyway, this metal detectorist found 10 of these coins, attempted to sell them for £15,000, got caught, was sentenced to 16 months jail, and interestingly enough, he was a local policeman. So he got 16 months jail and lost his career in an attempt to gain £15,000. So these are real laws in England, this finding things and actually having to own it up to the government. So interesting coin hoard and interesting lesson for metal detectorists in England there. Right, now as I said last week, we had a really good buying week. We had a lot of people come in here and sell us things, so I thought today I would share some of those things with you. Now, what should we do first? Let's do this. Oh, let's do this one first. All right. So there we have an Austrian 4 ducat. Now I've got a couple of them here, so we'll just put this. We'll take them out of the holder. Austrian 4 ducats are coins that were all dated. Well, they weren't all dated, but the 1915 ducats were what's known as restrikes. Catherine says, what did we buy last week? Catherine was so busy selling everything that she didn't know what we bought last week. Austrian ducats are what is known as restrikes, and that means that they were struck after the date that is actually on the coin. So you can see that there. It's got a picture of Franz Joseph, who was the Emperor of Austria at the time, and it has the Austrian arms on the back there. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the camera to take photos there. Now what's really interesting about these coins and other coins that are dated 1915 is they were to get around American laws. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, the American government banned the ownership of gold. It banned the ownership of gold for American citizens unless the gold was dated 1915 or earlier. So to get around that, many European mints just struck coins that were dated 1915 for another 20 or 30 years. And this is one of those coins. Now what's really interesting about the coin, A, is how big it is. It's considerably bigger than a 50-cent piece, but then how thin it is. It's about the same thickness as a 5-cent piece. So it's just about sort of the biggest, thinnest coin that you could imagine. Each one weighs, let me think, about 14 grams, just under 14 grams. And they're 98.6% gold, which is a very high gold purity for European gold. Usually European gold is 90%. And there's about 0.44 of an ounce of gold in each one. So they are sort of a bit under half an ounce of gold in each one. And they trade at just sort of a few percent above bullion. They're not really numismatic, but they are pretty spectacular if you haven't seen one of those before. So we bought a few of those last week, and they're the first ones of those that we have had for quite a while. Just a couple of comments here. Gloria says, finders keepers, unless rings, etc., they go to the police. If not claimed, they go to the finder. So I believe, Gloria, that you have a responsibility here to hand things into the police. We did cover this topic a couple of years ago. Perhaps we should do it again. You do have a responsibility to hand it into the police, but the laws around actually getting it back are different from state to state. Some states they can give it to you back, other states they're not obliged to. Peter says, would they fold easily? Peter, they would definitely fold easily, but I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'm not going to fold one just for the video. Andrew says, hi, Andrew, and Gloria says it's a pretty coin. Yes, it is. Right, next thing. We bought a decimal collection on Friday. There was a complete run of proof sets from 1966 through to, and there's just those of you who haven't seen one before, there's a 1966 proof set box with a 1966 proof set in it, from 1966 through to I think about 1994. Complete run of mint sets as well. But funnily enough, as I was going through the collection, I found this box here. And if you've been around decimal coins for a while, you would be looking at that box thinking, I know what's in there, because it is quite a distinctive box. And then when we open it up, I'm not sure if you can see that there, but inside is felt lined and there's satin under the lid there, and it says in gold embossing on the satin, Australian pattern crown. Now, I got excited when I saw this box. When I opened it up, though, I became less excited because inside of it was a Winston Churchill crown. Those of you who don't know what this is a goose dollar box, which we probably get 1 or 2 goose dollars a year come through here. What's a goose dollar? Well, I'll just take this one out of the holder. What I did find is I found that in the collection that the goose dollar that belonged to the box was actually in a plastic case that the Winston Churchill crown came out of. So you can see a goose dollar there. You can see 100 there for 100 cents. And then on the other side we have, it's not actually a goose, but people call it a goose. We have a swan there. It is actually a swan. Now, what is a swan dollar? Is it a coin? No, it's not a coin. It's actually a fantasy. And a fantasy is an imagining of what a coin might actually be like. So there we have the goose dollar there. So in 1966, the decimal coins were released, and there was supposedly a bit of a ruckus that when decimal coins were released that there wasn't a crown-sized silver coin. People, I suspect primarily coin collectors, seem to think that to emphasise the strength of the Australian economy and the strength of the country as a whole, we should have had a crown-sized silver coin when decimal coins were released. It didn't happen, obviously. The government kind of compromised and did it with the round 50-cent piece. But coin collectors, being the odd bunch that they are, they kept talking about it, primarily through the Australian Coin Review. And as such, the Australian Coin Review decided to hold a competition for coin designers to put up a proposed dollar coin, crown-sized dollar coin for Australia. And the winning entry was going to be minted and made available for sale to magazine subscribers. Now, the winning entry was designed by Andor Mazaris, and that is a gentleman who you would have heard me mention a few times before. Andor Mazaris was a Hungarian sculptor born in Hungary but worked primarily in Australia, and this was his winning design, the Swan pattern dollar. It's got a swan on one side and 100 cents with the wattle on the other side. They were minted in proof and uncirculated forms. The proof one, there were 750 of them. You can always tell a proof swan dollar because it has a plain edge, whereas the uncirculated swan dollar has a reeded edge. There were 1,500 uncirculated examples. The release price was just $10 for the uncirculated example and $13.50 for the proof. Came in that beautiful box that I showed you. Interestingly enough, this is not the right box. This is actually an uncirculated box because the proof box should say proof in there. And back in about 2007 or so, you could buy these for $200, $300, and then over a period of just a few years, the prices really soared on them, and now you struggle to get one for under $2,000, and the boxes themselves are worth a few $100s by themselves. There were 10 minted in gold. It's believed that only 7 or 8 of those still exist. And funny little story for you, someone brought one in and showed it to us about 4 weeks ago, a gold example of one of these. I never thought we would ever see one. Quite a remarkable coin. It was in wonderful condition. Unfortunately, the gentleman who brought it in didn't want to sell it, which is very disappointing because I really wanted to own it even for just a few days. So that is the Swan pattern dollar. It's a bit of an iconic coin amongst hardcore decimal collectors. It's not a coin, of course. It's a fantasy, and yeah, it's a great thing, and it was lovely to find one. Jason Park says it looks like a Klingon bird of prey. It does. It does. I've never noticed that before. I'm not sure when Star Trek started, whether this predates Star Trek or not, but yeah, it does look like a Klingon bird of prey. I'll pay that one. Now, the last item that we bought this week was a real shock, actually, to just see it sitting there in a bag in a decimal collection. Just not a comprehensive decimal collection, just some pages of coins and a few odd mint sets and things. This baby was sitting in a bag, and it's been a long time since we've had one of these. It's a 50 cent that's been struck out of collar and off centre. You do see these pop up from time to time, but it's always a real pleasure to see one. So this is a 1974 50 cent. It was taken out of circulation really early. It's still got full luster. It's got barely any marks on it. Struck about 3.5 to 4 millimeters off center, and you know, just a lovely example of the type of error. We haven't handled one for a few years. The last one we handled was about 85% off center, so this one's not quite up to that standards, but still a wonderful error to have come in the front door of the shop. And as I said, Catherine and I, being coin collectors, it was a real thrill to see it. It just gives us a real thrill to see these things, even if we don't own it for very long. It does give us a thrill to see them and watch them go on to a new owner who we know is going to love it. So 1974 50 cents, struck about 3.5 or 4 mils off centre, and a lovely error that someone found a long time ago and has had stashed in a plastic bag ever since, and it came into the shop last Thursday. So yeah, beautiful coin. Right, that's it for show and tell. Keep an eye on the website. There will be a bunch of stuff appearing there this week. If you are interested in anything you've seen today, feel free to send us a message. If you are interested in getting your hands on this year's baby sets, the mint set and the proof set, remembering that the mint set was $50 and the proof set was $140, send us a message. We'll put you on our list, and if we get allocated enough, we'll be able to sell those to you. Peter says the higher price we put on that 50 cent error, the longer we get to keep it. Yes, this is true. This is true. Always, I don't know if Catherine's listening or not, but when nice things like that come in, I know Catherine does enjoy owning them for a little while, and sometimes forever. They just disappear and they're never to be seen again. Right, that's it for this week. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and taking part this week. It's been a pleasure as always. Happy collecting. If you're in a hot part of the country, stay cool. If you're in the wet part of the country, stay dry. Bye for now, everyone. See you next week.